Hello, welcome to the Executive Bite. My name is Kyle Rowland. Today I'm going to let you in on a tightly held secret. We often talk about the power of independent teams, that independent teams create software more rapidly, and through this they create more value, which is, of course, the ultimate goal. We often talk about architecture needing to be structured a particular way in order to support those independent teams. But one thing we don't frequently talk about and doesn't get spoken to much at all, which is why I think if somebody must think it's a secret, is a really powerful stumbling block that can get in the way of being able to keep these independent teams. And that is the idea that in order to be independent, the software that the team is building has to have its own revenue stream. That is, the piece of software needs to be bringing in its own money. So something instructive in this, and you might think that this is kind of strange. This is not a technical issue. This is not even really a social issue. It's more of a business issue. So why does this have to happen? And the fact is, when you look at it, if there's no revenue stream, it's a really hard sell, and it really just never happens to have the sort of structure that you need in place in order to support that independence, whether that's process or the thinking around how the software is separated from other folks, or just the teams that are built and the organizational pieces that are put into place. And so without a revenue stream to support that, there's often and almost always no appetite to actually address those things. And thus, in order to get things accomplished, if there's a technical reason, one team needs to be engaged with another, then those conversations will happen on the lower level, and that is where dependence comes from. So an instructive example is one that's common. I've worked in one or several organizations where we've done this. Is we've broken down the software into an API layer. It was sort of it's middleware, and the front web piece is called the API layer, and then that's how the bulk of the application logic gets to take place. Now, at one specific place that I'm thinking of, there was no revenue around this. And so, as you could assume, there grew up a team around this middle layer, and the API layer had its own sort of structure, its own release cycle, and all of this kind of thing. And so because of that, it created the dependence that's so contrary to good software development. Now, on the other hand, it's not the case that an API layer has to create dependence. Like, if there was revenue stream coming in for an API layer, say you were actually putting your API on the marketplace so people could programmatically connect to your software, you could have a stream of money coming in to support this. And you can also picture how that would make it independent. So as we're looking at these things, that's kind of the key, is when you want your software to be independent, how you want your organization to break down really boils down to strictly a business thing, which is what's bringing in the money. Another instructive example is, imagine a large enterprise that's building its own software, and in order to do that, it creates even an integrated development environment, an IDE. And now say that IDE is just a tool that the developers use. Well, there's not going to be a lot of support for having product owners and people that are having vision about the shape of the product and the other structural things that are needed to make it independent. So probably a lot of the developers that are working on line of business type of things will also work on the IDE, and it'll maybe organically be something that builds up, but every team is going to sort of create a dependency among the other teams because of that. Now imagine the company turns around and goes and sells this capability. Suddenly this IDE becomes something that's worthy of all that structure that we were talking about, and it becomes something that is independent and doesn't necessarily create as much cross connections among the teams. So as you're concerned with building software as fast as possible, getting as much impact and value to the market as possible, please remember this particular stumbling block. It's where we've, as an industry, been very quiet about it, but it is something that's very important and will make a big difference in your organization. So thanks for joining. This is the Executive Bite. My name's Kyle Rowland. Have a good day.